Hello, StarCraft fans! This is Falcon Paladin coming to you with yet another daily Legacy of the Void upload. This is a game between Steven and Omega on Abyssal Reef, the latter edition. In the top left side of the map, we have the red Terran player. It is Steven from Risen. And in the bottom right side of the map, we have the blue Protoss player. It is Omega. So a PvT High Masters game sent to me at falconpaladin@gmail.com with the subject of Faint, which I'm not entirely sure what that means. The replay had that word in it as well, but I assume there's a feint of some kind in this replay. Go ahead and join me on this exploration of what feint would mean. Alright, supply depot into barracks for Steven, into refinery. I assume he's going to go ahead and open up a Reaper, but it's against Protoss, so maybe a Marine, because SCV scouting is just as efficient as Reaper scouting and comes a little bit earlier. I don't know. Weigh in with your thoughts about this. Terrans. Alright, so it's a gateway expand here from Omega. Probe little guy goes up. Says, I have enough. There we go. Alright, so there's the Nexus. No one basing it for either of these players. Steven says, how are you? How are you doing, Omega? And Omega says, nothing. Steven says, I played you before. I'm trying to get you to type instead of play. Working on a cybernetics core, working on a first assimilator. Here is Omega. And actually, that was a little bit late, but second assimilator coming in as well. There we go. Has his double gas coming in. No big deal. Barracks is done. Barracks is making absolutely nothing for Steven. He has enough money to do stuff with it. He's instead just kind of hanging out. And yes, okay, so he's going to make his barracks into a tech lab. No Reaper opening from him, unfortunately. Yes, we do have some Reaper names we need to get through. We need to get through, and a factory on the way from Steven as well. What this does, now let's get the factory out a little bit earlier than you otherwise would here. So Omega going for the expansion is making an adept for base defense, worried about the Reaper that could be coming, but it's not actually coming at all. But you know what? Better to be prepared than to be caught with your pants down is what I always say. Probe comes in, sees, oh, that's actually concussive shells on the way from Steven. It's not Stim. Usually Stim is the first upgrade we see out of that tech lab, but not today. And that factory, again, pretty early. Second refinery coming in at a time, which is really not too strange. Marine coming out of that barrack, stutter stepping its way to victory. Can it get the Marine? Oh, gets the probe. Gets the probe. Probe taken down by the Marine excellently. Well stutter stepped indeed there. Good sir. Factory done. What is happening with it? We have a Hellion. Do we have maybe a Cyclone? Maybe a Widow Mine? It's weird. He's making Marines but getting concussive shell. I wonder if this is a fake, like if he's kind of messing up, if he thinks he's getting Stim and he's not. Seems possible. Starport on the way from Steven. And Marines versus Adept here, but rough go of it. Rough go of it for two Marines versus an Adept. They're both down to 1 hit point each, and the Adept finishes them off with gusto there. Going right after the SCVs now. Going to Sonic transfer her way inside the main base as well. There's nothing to kill here at the natural, so going into the main. SCV forced to fight. Marines forced to fight. And can the Marine get rid of the Adept? One more shot. Well, 2 more shots should do it. 2 more shots should do it, and the Adept is gone. So it's 3 SCVs. Woo. And 2 Marines for an Adept and a Probe so far in this game. So Protoss player winning this thing. Starport, got canceled because the Adept killed the SCV building the Starport. Well, paused it. Did not actually cancel it, as it can be resumed by an SCV. And there we go. Starport finishing up. Factory is getting itself a reactor. And a Marauder finally coming in for Steven. So getting a Marauder to make use of that concussive shell upgrade, which does slow units that it hits unless they're massive, like Colossus and Ultralisks and things like that. Third command center on the way here from Steven. What's our Protoss friend doing? What is interesting over here? Getting an Observer, getting a Twilight Council, getting a Warp Gate Research, as you always want to do if you're a Protoss player. You just don't ever want to skip Warp Gate. Even if you're going something like Sky Toss, you want to be able to warp in defensive units to your bases when you feel the need to do so, and having Warp Gate really helps with that. Lifts the Starport here to Steven, and going to land it on the reactor that the factory built, and the barracks is going to move on over. Oh, okay, so the factory is moving on to the tech lab, the starport's on the reactor, and the barracks is going to build another tech lab. So I don't know what this is. I've never seen this build before. Not entirely sure what's going on there. Did something just die back here? Oh, a mule just died back here at the natural base. No sign of a third base from Omega quite yet. He's saving up enough minerals to do it, but he's getting Blink. He's getting additional gateways here. This could just be a 2-base Blink Stalker type thing, which can be pretty strong. Was stronger in Heart of the Swarm. Not as strong these days. So double medevacs on the way from Steven as well. And he is he not getting stim? He's not getting stim. Which I don't understand, but it's going to be a Marauder push here. So Marauder drops instead of Marines. We usually see Marines just because they are faster to build. You can fit more of them into a medevac than you can with Marauders. And they hit pretty hard, but man, Marauders don't take that extra damage from Adepts. Defending with Adepts versus Marauders, it's a kind of a rough proposition. So I'm very interested to see if this is just going to be some kind of a Marauder drop out of Steven or what. Again, that blink is still on the way from Omega. Got some stalkers inside the natural mineral line saying, I don't see any drops coming. This is kind of weird. It's late. It's a late drop. Marine checking for a third base. No, gets murdered by some stalkers for having the audacity to scout that third base location. Third base now landing from Steven. Already done. Already in orbital command. Landing. Nobody bothering that whatsoever. Got Hellions. Got Marauders. Got double tank coming out here as well. He's got a tank queued up, actually, which you don't really see a lot of in these higher level games, but no big deal. Missile turrets on the way from Steven, and an engineering bay with no upgrades being researched at all, and no sign of a planetary fortress. So I'm just confused. I am confused by what Steven is trying to do. And you know what? Maybe that's a sign of creativity. I really like creativity out of my dudes. So we got Hellions, Cyclone, Marauders, Tank. It's almost a mech strategy with Marauders mixed in, is what we're seeing here. So we've... Oh, okay. So medevacs flying... Empty medevacs flying in here for Steven. Is this our feint? Is this what this is? Flying in here with the empty medevacs, trying to convince the Protoss player that this is what's going on here. Yes, the Stalkers are chasing. The Stalkers are chasing over here to the third base. There's a term LOTV uses for this. We're going to call it a slow person magnet instead of what they actually call it. But yeah, going to try to drop in here. All the army is here. The photon overcharge is up as well. The medevacs die. And the army is very interested in dealing with that final medevac. Meanwhile, sneaking up the front here is Steven. Nobody here to defend. This natural base is in a lot of trouble. Come on. Come on. Go up here, Steven. You're waiting way too long. And moving the Hellions here into this natural base. A lot of probes are dying. A lot of probes are dying here. Taking out the pylons. The photon overcharge isn't a thing. Got the tank on the low ground doing great damage to these Adepts as well. Stalkers are terrible against Marauders and Cyclones both. This Cyclone already has 3 kills. One Marauder does end up falling here. Need to pull back maybe to the safety of the tank if you can. The Hellions continue to roast up probes. 18 probes have been killed so far in this game. Tank on the low ground just absolutely rocking these Stalkers. But they do blink forward, blink on top of the tank. It's 6 kills, and now it is dead. So the timing, I think, could have been better there. While the army was distracted, Omega's army was distracted over here at the third base, Steven could have come in. Could have actually come in the front a little bit earlier and done more damage, I feel like. But you know what? Getting 20 probe kills is not bad. 53 to 32 total harvesters now. And what is there? Something blue here? Is there an observer I'm not seeing? What is on my minimap? It is an observer. Okay, it's an observer that I wasn't seeing. It's a little camouflaged here by all these tires at the bottom of the ocean, which is actually kind of sad. Production tab for Steven is really good, actually. Marauders, tanks, Hellions, medevacs, an armory, another factory coming in. Omega's just basically trying to make additional workers, trying to make up for the fact that he lost 20 probes in that attack, which, again, probably shouldn't have lost that many. But what do you do? What do ya do? Another drop coming in here from Steven. It's 4 medevacs with 4 Hellions inside one of those medevacs, and that's it. That is it right now. The Hellions dropping themselves in positions to do excellent splash damage against these probes. They're running, but that's the rough go. Photon overcharge is up here inside the main base for Omega. Again, the medevacs scaring the Protoss player, but they're effectively empty Hellions rocking down this natural base, trying to kill it by themselves. 28 probes have lost their lives at this point, but the Stalkers should be able to handle them, and there's really no way for them to get out. So the Hellions are likely dead. There's a bit of a forward pylon here for Omega. The top side of the map, kind of in the middle. Stalker gets rid of one of the Hellions, should be able to get the other one. And again, 4 medevacs here for Steven. Keeping Omega inside his base is what this is doing here. Photon overcharge, keeping the medevacs out. They're empty, but you can't tell that from the outside. You can't tell they're riding a little bit faster because there's nothing inside them. That would be interesting, actually, if you could tell medevacs are moving more slowly if they're fully loaded of stuff. Like if there are tanks in there versus Marines, and tanks versus empty would be much different as well. A lot of factories here coming at third base for Steven, but a bunch of Stalkers here as well. And the Stalker is going to probably force cancels on these factories after they're done with all these SCVs. SCVs running pretty good pull time. They're out of Steven. The third base might actually die. These Stalkers do not have any attack upgrades, but there are enough of them About 18 of them. That's going to cause a lot of problems. They do take down the orbital command tanks in here. Not even in siege mode are these tanks. I think they're in a lot of trouble, actually. One tank does come up in siege mode, a little bit further away, getting some nice shots off on these stalkers, but the stalkers killing medevacs. They're trying to be very, very sneaky and do some medevac, or doing some tank dropping with the micro there, but these stalkers absolutely going to town. Tanks are gone. These factories are out. Another orbital command for a 4th base. First, Steven going to get shot here as well. SCVs trying to fight, but it's just not a good look for SCVs trying to fight there. 21 SCVs have died thus far. Stalkers owning this location. Can they take down these factories? They are making Hellions, which seems a weird choice when there are stalkers all up in your business, but whatever. 4 empty medevacs here in the bottom side of the map near the natural base. Again, Omega possibly not really worried about it. I don't know what to think. I don't know what the Protoss player would think here. Steven landing an orbital command at his 3rd base. He wants to build another one at this 4th, but stalkers are here once again. Blink stalkers, no attack upgrades on these dudes. I feel like they should have some. And orbital command flying right into this battle zone. I'm just going to land right here, says Steven. Don't mind me. He must be building a lot of bases because he lost one and he's still expanding twice with fully built orbital commands. So 5 tanks at a time on the way from Steven. This is weird. This is so weird. He's going to lose this 4th, though. At the very least, it's going to be down at the burning section, and I think the stalkers are going to risk it enough to kill it. And they do. They do get that base. So excellent job by the stalkers. Holy mules, Batman. How many mules is this? 8 mules called down at the 3rd base. They're going to mine this thing out fast. Really fast. More stalkers coming in here and trying to pick off these tanks. Good target firing on the tanks, actually. Well, until now, and one of the tanks get up in siege mode, and then they retreat. I think they would have won that battle. I mean, there are 3 tanks here, 2 of them not in siege. One of them is in siege. +1/+1 is done on these tanks and these Hellions. Trying to sneak up here into the natural base. Again, there are some tanks, but Blink Stalkers can get right on top of you and kill you before you even know what's going on. There's a Widow Mine here as well. Does get killed after firing once. Natural base is kind of under direct assault by these stalkers right now. Hellbats and tanks, and the stalkers say, we can handle this. We can handle this. Trying to do some more medevac fancy dropping here. Trying to pick up and drop in different locations. A lot of tanks have died thus far. Stalkers taking hits from Widow Mines, not getting killed there as well. Hellbats not so good against the stalker. And let's take a look here real quick. Resources lost about 12,000 for the Terran player as tanks continue to fall here. Continuing to fall here. Now, again, closer to 13,000 lost. Whereas the Protoss players lost about 9 or 10. So more cost efficient is the Protoss so far. It's a pretty good back and forth here. And again, basically trying to mech it is Steven, which we haven't seen against Protoss in a long time, I would say. How many tanks have died? 15 tanks have died already. There are 8, though, which is good, and 4 more in production, so he's replacing them fairly well. Omega needs to tech up to something else. He needs to get Immortals. He needs to maybe get Zealots. Would be okay, except versus the Hellbats, I suppose. But again, the Stalkers are being cost efficient. They're killing Widow Mines like crazy, which is great. They're right on top of these tanks, and the tanks are taking a while to kill. Again, the upgrade advantage is here for the Terran player, +1/+1, versus no upgrades whatsoever for Omega. Triple command center under production for Steven right now. He really wants to expand as much as Terranly possible, and can't say that I blame him. Omega, dude, you can't. Why are you still making Blink Stalkers? He's got a robotics facility. He could make a couple Immortals here, which I feel like would be a great choice against these tanks, doing extra damage versus the tanks and against the Marauders, and even really taking damage from Widow Mines wouldn't be a problem. They'd be fine against Hellbats as well. I don't know. I don't know what's going on here with this Protoss player, but we'll see if he switches it up at all. I mean, it was basically a 3-base Blink all-in that didn't work out, and perhaps that's all he knows how to do. I mean, there are players who get this high at the Masters level of StarCraft 2, only knowing one strategy, and if you mess that up, they kind of get stuck. They're like robots that segfault. Do robots segfault Thor on the way from Steven? 3 tanks just waltzing on in here. Waltzing on in here. Taking down a probe that was just trying to build a 4th base. That's all he's trying to do, you meanie. Again, medevacs. This time there's stuff in the medevacs. There are tanks this time, and they do land. Look at this tank drop. Are you kidding? Pylons dying very quickly as well. Look at this micro trying to lift the tanks that are getting hit so they don't die, but they're also starting to get very low on HP. Nevertheless, this is not going very well, I would argue, for Steven. 1 tank is alive. Mothership Core is going to kill it, though, eventually. He's trying to pick off some of the probes here at the 3rd base on the low ground from where he landed on the high ground. Inside the main, Mothership Core DPS is terrible, but you know what? Eventually, you can kill stuff with it. As it turns out, Medivacs trying to fly home. Stalkers say you will not fly home without us shooting you in the back. How do you feel about that? And the answer is poorly, poorly. We're all dead now. Yes, I love following this trajectory. And it's gone. And it's gone. A lot of dead Medivacs, actually. 29 dead tanks and 13 dead Medivacs. Ugh. Are these just more... Okay, actually Adept. Okay, so Adept Stalker now for Omega. Switching it up a little bit. Adept swinging into this third base of Steven. Stalker's trying to deal with these tanks, but the tank count is back up to 8. Got a Thor here as well. Adept's basically laying waste to the third base of Steven, which is bad news. But tanks pretty good against Adepts. Don't take extra damage versus them. Hit them pretty hard as well. Trying to land that fourth base. Stalker shutting that thing down very quickly. Can the repair come in is the question. Mules to throw down to save it here. Adepts here at the natural base, forced to contend with some tanks, which they're not having a very fun time with. Not a very fun time with at all. The tanks absolutely rocking 3 kills each. Adepts do kill 1, but the tank still continuing a single target fire here very, very nicely. SCVs coming in to repair the tank, and it will finish off these Adepts with a plume. With a plume. Stalkers here. Full page of Stalkers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I don't know, it is 16 and 20. 20 Stalkers. Again, all they have is Blink. No attack upgrades whatsoever. I don't know what's going on with our Protoss player. It's very weird. And Steven's lost a lot of stuff, mind you. He's lost 27 SCVs. He's lost a couple bases. He's killed 35 probes, 64 Stalkers, though, and 15 Adepts. And it's just tanks, man. It is just tanks. It's Hellions. You know what would be good is stuff that can be up and shoot down. Like a Void Array transition out of Omega would be pretty fantastic here. But instead, walking these Stalkers into tanks, which just seems like a poor life choice. The Thor here as well, having a great time before it dies. And a lot, look at all this dead stuff floating up to the sky right now. A lot of Stalkers died. Marauders actually probably your best bet against these Stalkers. Doing super well there. No upgrades, except they do have Stamina Concussive Shell. And no kills? 7 kills. 7 kills on that Marauder. Good gravy. That's a lot of kills. Hasn't been able to take a 4th base is Omega. Omega desperately trying to do this thing, but he's running low on money. It's 46 to 36 total harvesters. He's trying to move some workers over to his 3rd. But again, it's just, it feels all the world to me like a player who knows how to 3-base or 2-base Blink Stalker all in and then just losing his way. Just losing his way because he's not quite sure what else to do with it. Alright, so Adept here at this 5th base that Steven is trying to throw down. He's trying to get a 6th base as well, but the SCVs get intercepted by Stalkers and burned alive. Or perhaps just disrupted by particle disruptors, which is what Stalkers have for their attack. Adept here at this 5th base is doing a great job. Actually has a kill, forcing SCVs away, forcing a pause on that command center, which is a good deal as well. Holy mules, Batman. How many mules is this? 7. 7 mules and a ton of SCVs. Here at this 4th base for Steven, a 4th base is beginning warped in for Omega as well. And more Medivacs, more tank drops here from Steven. The Stalker's going to get these ones, though. I mean, if they had upgrades, it'd be a little bit easier, but one Medivac dies very easily. And the other one does manage to survive with 30 hit points, but Stalkers warp it and finish it off. Okay, bad news. Bad news bears. Wow, 37 tanks have died. 15 Medivacs have died. It's 105 to 65 total supply, though. So Steven's lost a ton of stuff, but he's still up because he has more bases. And oh, Hellions strolling here into the 3rd base of Omega, killing even more of these probes. 55, 56 probes have died. Photon Overcharge will clean up the Hellions. They're going to take a lot of probes with them. 61 probes dead. 5th base by Steven is still under assault, which is bad news. But Omega's down to 12 probes and a handful of Stalkers. He's got 13 Stalkers versus 7 tanks, 7 Hellions, 2 Marauders. And again, why this dude insists on going for straight Stalker with some Adepts, I will never understand, especially not against Terran, who's got tanks and Marauders, mind you. Tanks and Marauders, here he goes, coming in here with the Stalkers, they do pick off a tank, but again, so much damage done, +2 done. For the siege tanks, the Crucio shot cannon doing 80 damage versus armored targets. And Stalkers, that's 2-shot. That is a 2-shot from a tank before they die. Exactly 2. Getting a Stargate. Okay, so now getting a Stargate. A little bit too late, possibly. Widowmines burrowing themselves here at the 5th base of Steven, trying to defend against this Adept, but not working out particularly well is how I would explain that. All right, what do we got here? We have it's just Stalker. It's just Stalker, man. Trying to get more probes. His 4th base is up. 4th base is up for Omega, which is great news. I mean, can he extend this is the question of the day. Again, not that Steven has a lot of stuff either, though. He's got 9 tanks, 2 Marauders, 7 Hellions. That's it, with 10 Widow Mines. So it's weird, right? I mean, neither of these players has a really big army for 20 minutes into this game. Yes, they've lost a lot of workers. 32 SCVs and 61 SCVs is nothing to joke about. The Stalkers do take down another command center. That's going to be a command center and 2 orbital commands, but Widow Mines trying to get some shots off on these Stalkers, but they get outranged, which is bad news bears for them. So still 4 base. 4 base for Steven here. Going to go for the Warp Prism attack from Omega. No, not going to do it. Hellions here at the 4th base of Omega. Going to chase down these probes. Oh, probes, don't line it up. Don't line it up. Decent splits? No, not decent. Well, better than nothing splits is what I would say. Down to 13 probes now. Hellions trying to sneak on in, trying to see what they can do. Inside the main base, they kill yet another probe. The Stalkers have to come all the way home. All the way home to deal with this. The Hellions recognize there's nothing really here for us to kill. Unfortunately, do they Hellbat transformation? No, that's it. A good game out of Omega. Omega is defeated and Steven is victorious. I guess these tanks dropping back here was enough to force Omega out. He had 29 supply and 2 probes. 2 probes remaining here. So it was basically Hellion harass out of Steven, in which he was coming from the 3rd base as well. Killing a lot of probes, killing 90 probes, which is a dead lot of probes, and then just going tank while his opponent insisted on going Stalker all the livelong day. So, I don't know. I don't even know what to tell you about this. This has been just a really, really weird mid-rank madness, but I hope you enjoyed it anyway, because that's gonna be it from me. This has been Falcon Paladin coming to you with yet another daily Legacy of the Void upload. Go ahead and hit that like button. Hit the subscribe if you like what you saw and what you heard today. You can also catch me on Twitter, Facebook, and Patreon, all at /Falcon Paladin. And until next time, as always, thank you so much for watching, and you take care of yourself.